Okay, so now what we're doing is comparing a brand new set of Maxxis dual sport tires. I don't know the product code on these. I can't remember, but this is Maxxis's dual sport tire or knobby tire for the Grom. So this is what I had on my Grom previously before the mobbers, and it's a really, really good tire. It performed well on the street. It had really good grip on the dirt. I was really happy with it. But the only thing that I didn't really like, and the reason why these are still brand new and not on something, is because I felt the sidewalls were a little bit thin, a little bit too thin for the monkey, really. They just didn't have that like fat trail bike look to them. So I withheld putting them on the monkey and just basically waited for something else to come out, because I knew that something else would come out based on that trail bike sort of motif that they have going on. And lo and behold, we found the mobbers at this Barber small bore event, and they were certainly what I was looking for, more or less like a motocross tire. So basically you have these two tires, competing tires, stacked up against each other right here. And the first thing you notice is that the Maxxis has a lot more knobbies. It's populated with a lot more knobbies than the mobber. And this is a traditional dirt bike type thing. So what this means is the lesser population of knobby will allow dirt to evacuate better and mud to evacuate better. So you won't end up with essentially a slick tire packed with mud like you would on the Maxxis. However, here in Florida, that's not usually the case because we have a lot of sand in our dirt. So we don't usually pack tires with mud down here. But everywhere else in the country that has some thick mud might have that problem. So to us, not a problem, but to the rest of everybody out there, maybe so. So definitely you can see the difference in the aggressiveness of these two tires. The next thing that I'll point out is the thickness of these tires, and that's kind of like an aspect ratio thing. You can see that the mobber has a more rounded profile on the edge, and the Maxxis has a little bit flatter of a profile. So that's going to lead to better on-road grip. The rounded profile is going to lead to better off-road grip. And these are, once again, looking at the two rear tires, which is the 130 70s. And the other thing I can point out is the aspect ratio as far as the diameter. The mobber is just a taller tire in general, and we'll do a stand-up comparison on these two, but also remember that this is not on the wheel or inflated, so it's not gonna be exact. So as you can see, Maxxis is a pretty knobby tire, and population wise, and the mobber is a very knobby tire in aggressiveness wise. So the next thing we'll look at on the rear tires is the knobby depth. So I got my caliper out here, and we're looking at basically a measurement of the depth of the knobby, and I'm showing a 13 millimeter knobby height on this. And then when you go to the Maxxis to compare, you're looking at a drastically different knobby depth. Can't get the camera to focus. There we go. It's a totally different depth here on this, and I'll reconfigure this caliper to show the height difference. So basically you're looking at 9.8 millimeters for the height of the knobby on the Maxxis as compared to 13 on the mobber. So much deeper and taller knobby, which is going to lead to increased bite on dirt and off-road surfaces. And we're switching over to the front tires here, and these are the 120 70-12s versus the 130s that you'd put on the rears. The Maxxis is almost an identical tread pattern to its rear sizing, so there's not much to point out there. The mobber is a little bit different. It looks like it's a little bit more populous as far as the tread goes, the knobby count goes, than its rear counterpart. So what this means is it's going to have better on-road traction than the rear, because it just has more surface on the road, more rubber contact patch on the road. So looking at this, I'm pretty happy that I ended up with the tires set up to where the correct front is going to be on the Monkey and not the two rears, because you're looking at even less on-road contact patch traction from running the rear on the front. So the only thing we'll really check now is the tread depth versus the rear tire. So the tread depth on the front is 8.5 millimeters. So that's about the tread depth of the Maxxis. This is the knobby height tread depth. I use these terms interchangeably. I'm not really sure what the technical term is for it, but that's basically what we're looking at, is the height of the knobbies. So you have a 13 millimeter knobby on the rear, and then you have a 8 millimeter knobby on the front. And obviously you can see that the front is definitely a little bit more narrow than the rear, and I can get a rudimentary height on that for you. Okay, so now we're looking at just a basic height measurement from the table as far as the rear mobber versus the front mobber. And this is actually a tread width measurement. We're just doing it a different way. So the tread width is about 5 inches on the rear mobber and probably about 4 3/4 on the front mobber. And this is just eyeballing it. This isn't exact. I'm sure you can get the exact specs off their website, but we're gonna just leave that hardcore specs. Maybe I'll put it on a sidebar, but either way, we're looking at about 5 inches of tread width on the rear mobber and about 4 3/4 on the front mobber. And that's pretty consistent with the disproportionate motorcycle sizes, to where you have a fatter rear tire and a skinnier front. Go.